He's sitting here in the pub.
I would use my webcam, but for whatever reason, I cannot get the computer to detect it. So,
everybody, thank you very much for coming back tonight. Tonight we have another episode of the Open Mic Night. We have been joined tonight by a gaggle of good people. Hopefully we'll get some more people in. We'll chop and change as it goes along. What we'll do is we'll work around the panel. We'll let everyone shout and scream about who they are, and I'll fix the chat size. And Richard, we'll start with you, man.
Peace and respect to you all. I am Richard Madsen, or Demolished Doctrine on YouTube. I have a very, very odd view of ancient spiritual stories that might make sense to some folks. Check me out sometime.
Yes, perfect. Everyone who's a regular here will know Richard. So, Jeff, up in the top corner, we have Jeff hit with us tonight.
Hi, I'm Jefferson Fast Guy.
There you go. Does wonderful debates, makes fun of stupid people. We have been joined by Quentin in the corner as well. Quentin is starting a new channel, multitude of things, and has the worst Wi-Fi known to man. And everybody always knows Manda. Manda's a stable face here. I'd be lost without her. And Dave's here to fill a spot until someone else comes in. So,
Yep.
Tonight's topic, we were thinking, we were sort of hashing out, me, Manda, and Dave were sort of talking about earlier, and it's difficult to put into words what we were thinking about. We were sort of talking about matriarchal societies, the benefits of women-only voting on women's, things that change their votes. And Dave, you had a better way of describing it, if you would...
I thought we were talking about exactly what colour Richard's beard is. You promised me that was the debate.
Oh, there's a debate, right? Oh, okay. Well, ding ding. Go first. Question first, Dave.
I didn't. I can't even remember. We discussed it for ages. Whether or not. I hate you.
Yeah, no, you do it to me all the time. It's wonderful when you get put in the spot, isn't it?
It was about post-Christian patriarchy, and what society we would be better with in place. And when we talked about whether or not a matriarchal society would be better, whether or not the patriarchal society we've got is perfectly adequate and up to the job, or whether or not we could actually find some level of equality, or even if not equality, separation. You could potentially have a society where there is the women's business and men's business, and they take care of their business themselves with no one overall in charge. That there are several ways you could find equality there.
Well, could you give an example of woman's business, Dave? Just to no examples of what woman's business would be. Manda, would you like to tell Dave what women?
Right. I mean, we're talking about. Okay, it's hard to really decide. If there should be a patriarchal society or a matriarchal society, who should be in charge. The issue was, it was a basic question that kind of got, when Dave and I went into it, broke it down way too many ways. But you, MathPig, brought up a decent point, that the people that should be in charge, it shouldn't matter what sex they are, what gender they are. It should matter who has, the most education and is the most well-informed.
And as you pointed out and screamed and shouted at me, being the best informed and being the best educated on a particular topic does not make you the best person to make them decisions. I'm
just saying that there were mistakes made in the past, and I brought up the idea that 75 years ago or so, women were treated for things, the PMS was considered them being neurotic, and they would be locked up for that. But those were the best informed for that time. You don't always know what's best, but when it comes down to especially here in America right now, the people that are making the decisions about women's health in particular are not women. We don't get a lot of say. Right now it's a lot of old rich white men that are making the decision of what we can do with our bodies. And that's where I came down to. So
Richard, you're a ghost.
but just yeah. Where the fuck did you go, Richard? You still didn't come up with a
No, what's happened is his beard has finally taken over.
One thing Dave did point out, though, is further back in time, I can't remember exactly what stage it was, you couldn't remember the time yourself, Dave, is back when society was, the household. Your main focus, your main group of friends, the main people around you were your household, and the person in charge of the household, 9 times out of 10, was the women, was the mother, was maybe the grandmother helping out. They helped with the kids, they did the cooking, they organised things, and making a reference to the point about what you said about women's business and men's business, it was the men's business to go outside and maybe toil the fields, but that's just grunt labour any fool can do. The women, the smart people, were in the house making sure everything was done correctly.
Do you remember any of this, Dave, at all?
Hey, no. I made some great points, didn't I?
You did. You also said, we should have this discussion now when I'm awake and,
Well,
I
Jeff,
think Dave would be surprised at how
These
smart
are
Dave
ridiculous
is.
times.
would anybody else like to throw in a point of view or an idea on that there, then, considering that Dave doesn't remember the conversation that me and Mom and him already had?
I think Dave is probably smarter than he thinks he is, because he can never remember all that stuff,
Well, could anybody here genuine in the panel would they have a problem? I know we've got a wide, diverse range of people here, and growing up over our stage of our lives, there was never a point being raised by a single parent, by being raised by my mother, and if anyone here has met my mother, you don't take shit from her, and it's not, there was no sort of, the woman's the weak when the boss is the daddy and he's the one that deals out the punishments or anything like that. And I always felt growing up, I'd never had a problem taking orders from women, is what I'm putting across here. I never had a problem.
You're not.
What are you trying to say, MathPig?
No, I'm asking, is there anyone here in any stage of their life that would have a problem with that? Because this points out, most of society now, most of the people in charge, it is male-driven world. I'm not being a misogynist to say that. It is the way it is, and people accept that. If there was a sudden change and everybody who was in charge that's a man is now replaced by a woman, I could guarantee you there would be a lot of people in the, that would be out there going, oh shit. Not like it, not appreciate it. The men, especially in America, from what I've seen, appreciate the hierarchy of the nuclear family. God at the top, me in the middle, and the women at the bottom doing what they're told.
I mean, to me, it seems
I
kind of
disagree.
weird. The household in kind of Western society is sort of run as if if you think about it, most of the women are sort of by default managing the household. They're taking care of the kids, seeing to their upbringing, even to the point where they're managing. I mean, that's a gross, generalization. And the guys are more like security, from an ancient society perspective. The guy's there because he serves as a threat of violence in case somebody's going to show up at that household and screw with the family or steal stuff or whatever. So it's almost like, the society is established where the security guard is the head of the household while the woman takes the subordinate position, even though she's actually running everything. So I think it's an odd development for people, because in some matrilineal societies that still exist now, even the stuff of it's kind of weird. Marriage doesn't usually become traditionally enforced. It's very fluid. I think that's weird, because in patriarchal societies, marriage has a ton of rules and laws to it. There's very distinct, or at least there's attempts to make very distinct relationships that, matriarchal societies just ignore it.
Do they?
I think I probably have a strange perspective because I come from a military family. So it was always mom playing both parts, mom and dad, trying to understand or try to be considerate of, boys and she's never been a boy, of course, but, kind of playing both parts, and she was the only authority.
Yeah.
Yeah, when my father was in the TA, he would spend time away. So even before they broke up and I was a single parent family, there was as Richard points out, there was always that strong figurehead in the household. It was always a woman.
Okay, so Kevin makes a good point, and this is something Dave and I were talking. We were struggling to think of, current societies that are more matriarchal. And Kevin, you're Navajo, right?
By adoption.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's still your family.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that? How they're what their matriarchal society is like more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, your relationship to people.
Can you come closer to your mic, please, Kevin? Dave, you unmuted, so I'm going to jump at you again and pick on. Oh, Gio, have you anything that you would like to add? As an older generation, would you have a problem, taking orders from a woman and rules and regulations being laid down by a woman? Would it throw you off your guard, being a military man yourself, and if I cannot be insulting a slightly older generation?
No, well, yeah, you're correct. I'm going to be 57, so I was born in an era where that wasn't really an issue, but there was still a sort of evangelical influence to everything that was done, just because of the majority of people were of the Christian variety, so that had a lot of influence in my family as far as how things, the authority figures were looked at, but it wasn't written in stone for us as a family. But I look at it like this: if you have the qualifications for the job, the sex, religion, race shouldn't come into play, but it oftentimes does, and I think that has a lot to do with the influences that Christianity has brought to our society. But that's just my thought on that. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
No, I totally understand, man. Yeah, well, that's it. We're here to get different points of view and different perspectives. I would definitely agree that back in the day, so to speak, the idea of the 1950s in America, what I mentioned earlier, the nuclear family, it definitely was an awful lot driven by the idea of the Christians. It was a very hierarchical structure was put in place. You have the priests, the ministers, God at the top, and it was definitely an influence because, as you say, man, it was more mainstream. Like, everybody was a Christian at that stage. It was just something that everybody did.
Yeah, it wasn't everybody was either they were a Christian or they were either or a devil worshiper. And there was no middle ground there. And I never heard of the word atheist until I grew up. I went through the service my whole life until I was an adult, not knowing that atheism was actually a thing. But I found out about agnosticism when I was a child. So I called myself an agnostic for a very long time. So, yeah.
When you were
the influence that this culture in America has is evangelical and Christian based because of the minority. I mean, the majority. I keep saying minority because of the majority that is Christian in this nation. That's how I see it.
Manda, being the only woman on the panel, is there anything, mainly apart from the wide umbrella term of everybody in charge is a fucking old white guy, is there anything in particular that really, from a woman's point of view, you're like, fucking bastards are changing or doing this or infringing upon your rights as a woman in charge, as a strong woman that likes to scream and shout?
I mean, healthcare. Mostly reproductive rights. The fact that, especially in this country, there's a religious element to it that seems to infringe on, what rights we have as women we don't get to choose. 10 years ago, it was easier to be a woman in this country than it is now. They've really cut down a lot of the laws. They've tried to overturn Roe v. Wade as hard as they can, and we feel like we have no say whatsoever about what we get to do with our bodies. And it really sucks.
One thing
Yeah.
that you did bring up earlier was, and I know you said it lightheartedly, so to speak, as the conversation was going on, was, well, if women were in charge, there'd be no fucking war.
I didn't say no war. I said women are less prone.
No, you
to
flat out said if
jump-
women were in charge,
No.
there'd be no war.
No, I did not. I said women are less prone to jump to violence to solve solutions than are men. And I mean, I could be wrong, but as far as I can tell from different types of societies I've looked at in history, those that have been led by women have a more diplomatic way of working through things than to, people like Trump, who at the drop of the hat wants to, bomb an airport or whatever the fuck he did to that one ambassador guy. So
Now, could I ask you a question? Do you think that women are more cordial and come to that point, and the idea, the stereotype idea that what you're trying to portray here, do you think that's because of an evolution of the way the society has been? Not to say that women have been put down in a place, but that, men like to fight and find things out, and we're the men in charge. As Dave pointed out earlier, when you look at animals and you look at other mammals, the women in charge in them societies are just as valid as the men alternative in another society.
Yeah, and I explained that they are working on more instinct as we as humans work on more what do we have learned from society. But I'm not in any way saying that women are even gentler or less likely to be violent. I just feel that there is more of a chance to think things through. Sometimes, a lot of the time, men can be quick to make a decision, especially towards violence, when it comes to huge world leaders, as opposed to, when I see women in charge, they tend to take a longer route where they don't get things don't get accomplished as quickly. No, but things are thought out for longer, and I don't know. I never said that they're less, violent or angry.
Well, no,
or
I
whatever.
would agree. Well, I would, to a certain degree, I would definitely agree with you. From a certain point, that women would be classed as less violent, and I know that they're, again, we're a male-driven panel here, and I feel very sorry for Amanda at the minute being picked on. But I could probably go around this panel of 6 men here, and say that there's at least 3 or 4 of us have went through an incident where we've gained a friend because they annoyed the tits out of us to the point where we ended up in fisticuffs. And then the air was cleared and everything was, and you end up becoming a very good friend with them, and maybe possibly a best friend. You spend time with them and years with them because, not to say because of the violence, but of the quickness of getting it out of your system, so to speak. Then taking that and giving it to a man that's got a big giant button that can blow up people is definitely not something that I would encourage going, up the hierarchical stage and up the power level. But on a personal level, sometimes people need a punch and it just sorts the situation out.
Out of idle curiosity, having talked to everyone on this panel, who do you think is the most aggressive?
On this panel?
No.
He excluded himself.
Matt.
So before I talk anymore, I'd love to hear some feedback about if you can hear me better now than you could a minute ago.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to say something then, Kevin?
Trying to kill the conversation here. I don't know if I should answer Dave's question or Amanda's previous question, or...
We'll just answer one. Just pick one.
All right. 2.5.
I would go as far as to say that the patriarchal society that we live in is harmful to society.
Now, you did bring up it was right at the end of the conversation today, Dave, just as we were cutting off. But could you elaborate more on that, on the way that the society has developed now, and particularly in this, your disapproval with it?
What?
Oh my goodness! I'm trying to sound not Irish and articulate here. Okay, I'm the host.
Oh my God.
There's 30 people watching. I'm trying to shout smart.
That's what we love.
The problems that you say, Dave, that you see.
MathPig, if you don't mind me asking, could it be possible for you to sound even more Irish?
Yes, it actually could.
I mean, we were having a conversation with his mother earlier and could not understand a word they said.
That's what I'm just waiting to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear some train spotting. I'm like, come on. I'm from America, man.
America.
I'm train spotting Scottish though. Well, Dave, as you were saying, man, earlier, as I was trying to point out, the problems that you say the way it's developed is harmful. You can't just make that statement and then stop. Let us know why.
Oh, I think it neglects half the population. I think you are. The problem is, it's not just based on sex. It's we have picked half of our society to be in charge that has absolutely no clue what is best for the other half of the population, or giving the other half of the population a choice. And even if they did know what was best for them, it's still totally removed any sort of personal responsibility or choice about their life from them. If we did the portion of society, it would be seen horrifically. If we turn around and say, "Well, right now," if we turn around and say, "Right, let's go there." Only white people can be in charge. You know, people
had to do it just the once.
Yeah, that was a sentence I'm still working on parsing.
Yes.
Right, so make that statement then, Dave. Make it again, and I promise not to kick anyone for the rest of the night. I promise.
If we were saying that if we were doing the same thing with another group, with another large group from society, there would be more uproar. There would be more aggression coming back. We have literally spent hundreds, if not thousands, of years of training women to not argue about the fact that men are in charge, and we know as a gender, as a sex,
as a demographic,
demographic. That's the look of the word. We, as men, cannot have their lives, their knowledge, and expecting us to make reasonable decisions on their behalf is absurd. The fact that these people think they can do that is insane. And again, we've now had thousands of years of these decisions being made. And it, as a whole, it has harmed the entire society.
That's the main reason Hillary Clinton didn't get elected. It had very little to do with any conspiracy. It all had to do with a patriarchal society that wasn't ready to accept a woman president.
So my question was going to be, and sorry, let me jump in here. I wanted to ask Dave and Robbie specifically, since they're UK citizens, or from the other side of the pond. I mean, you've had queens. You've got Queen Elizabeth at the moment. You've had female prime ministers. We have yet in the States to have a female leader of the country. And I think that's an issue for some people in a way that I can't even relate to. I mean,
something relative to that, man. Something relative to that quite recently, well, in this last couple of years, the two major parties now, Sinn Féin and DUP, both have female leaders. And you know, as everybody knows, we've been having the trouble since the 70s. We had the Good Friday Agreement in the 90s. You know, we're still not at peace. And not within this last year, working in the place that I've worked in, I've heard a conversation with the guy that I work with and a customer make the statement that the reason it's taking so long is because the women are in charge now. And it's like, holy shit, man. It's been like this for 20 years. They've been in charge for X amount. It's, you know, it's very misogynistic point of view, if you understand.
Master Robbie, can you let Donna in?
Yep.
Hi.
Thank you very much, Donna, for joining us. I was brilliant very much. You were the first woman that, apart from Manda, that I reached out to try and have yourself on the panel, because as like Manda, very outspoken, lots to say, very opinionated, and a lot of it's true. So we're all going to sit back and listen to you now.
Me? Oh, wow.
Well, what have you got? Have you anything that you'd like to contribute to listening to what has been happening, or any points that we missed you'd like to jump in and say all us men are wrong and Manda rocks?
I don't think you're wrong. I think loads of stuff with men is ego. Not to generalise, but lots of men have inflated egos, especially when in power. And I think not everyone, but lots of women have this issue with imposter syndrome. So even if they are super intelligent, know what they're talking about, they're still going to second guess themselves constantly. It happens in my professional time. Nursing is really, really female dominated. But what you'll see is lots of men working their way up really quickly, and lots of women always questioning their abilities, even when they're amazing at their jobs. And I presume it's probably the same in politics. Obviously, you've got that added that it's kind of male dominated. So lots of women have guys that are so confident, and they're kind of like, ooh. Yeah, I think that's a lot of from my experience.
Well, taking what you're saying there, Donna, and just to apply that to a real life situation, I can see something similar happening. What's happening now with the Democrats in America? You have Biden taking on Camilla, and as much as everybody would like, they all want Warren and Biden and things like that, or not Warren and Bernie. They've ended up with Biden and Camilla. And do you think that's because Warren is more outspoken and more, maybe necessarily, obviously, we have to take into consideration that she's an awful lot more left than what Camilla would be. But I feel that no matter who was going to be picked this year, I've said this to Amanda before, it was definitely going to be a female vice president. It was going to be the first, that step, that it was definitely available this year, and they've taken advantage of it.
I mean, I can't say loads about American politics. I can't keep up, to be honest. It seems like, to be honest, when I read stuff, it sounds like everyone's just assholes. I find it very difficult.
You are very correct, my dear.
Well, Trump came out and immediately said that a lot of people are going to be upset at the fact that Biden picked a woman.
Yeah. Wow, really?
Yeah.
Said that. So,
right. And this is just exactly what I'm saying. What I was making a reference point to earlier. Everybody here in the panel being a grown-up sort of person, and we're all mature enough that we would be happy enough to take orders from women. But Trump being of that mindset, regardless of whether it's generational or Christian or his upbringing, he knows that his generalization of his group of people that he sees are not going to be happy that a woman is not even in power. She has a voice to the man who is in power. It just happens to be the best voice, the good voice and all, but she just has a voice. She's not the person in power, and it still causes a problem.
It bemuses me. I think...
Speaking to something that Dave mentioned earlier, there are still a lot of people that are still going to vote against, their own interests. So when Trump says something like a lot of people are going to be upset that he picked a woman, he's speaking about women too. People like the transformed wife and stuff, who will tell you that women should not be in power regardless of being a woman herself.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of upsetting that happens a lot, especially in America. With our puritanical belief system, it just happens.
Yeah, the American point of view has just gone backwards. It has no progression. That's what has people saying, "Oh, I don't care that she's a woman. I don't care that she's liberal. She's not progressive enough." And I hear that, but we're always kind of here in the United States. We're basically forced to pick the better of two evils. So right now, do you do everything you can to get rid of the moron in charge, or do you pick a lesser evil that you might have a chance to negotiate with?
Something relative to what Donna said in the chat earlier is that referencing Manda and fighting and things like that, women have less of an ego. Women,
Right.
But as I pointed out to her in the chat, do you think that that's because they have got so? And I'm being really stereotypical and broad brush, and everyone knows I'm not an asshole, but do you think that that's because they've been put in that secondary position, that they've got so used to the fact that there's no point in trying to change anything because the men are just going to punch each other? It's probably better if we just talk about it. They're going to be dicks. Let's go make cake and talk over tea. It's less of an ego because of the position that us as men have put them in.
I see women fighting harder. That's what I do.
What Donna said is true too, though, is that we tend to second guess ourselves a lot because we're, I know going through 2 different STEM programs, 3 technically, because my first degree was actually 2.
Right.
As a woman, you're just not, you're called on less in class. You're just, you seem to be trusted less for some reason in a lab. It's all, there's no reason for it. My junior year physics lab, I had the highest grade by at least 5 points, and our TA still always picks someone else to go over this stuff for the class below us, just because he was a dude. So we get this feeling in our head that no matter how hard we work, no matter how hard we try, no matter what we accomplish, we're still probably wrong. So maybe we should stay quiet and stay silent, and it's not fun.
A reference point of using the science and the math and things like that, Amanda, growing up in my obviously I'm 37, it's been a while since I've been at school, but there was only 5 of us that did A-levels at 4 A-levels, and 3 of them were women. 3 of them were girls. There was 2 guys and 3 girls, and we did, they were smarter, in my opinion. There was a higher, if you looked at that statistic. But growing up, I can definitely remember always having this, I don't know where it came from, whether it was teachers or things like that, but women are better at English, men are better at math and science. That, I don't know if it's a true statistic, I don't know if there's any basis in it, but it is something in the generation that we're in now, well, the generation that we grew up in. It was something that I definitely remember being told more than once or twice.
I grew up in that.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
The problem is that right now, our society, the men are just as they suffer just as much with the biases as the women do. No, they don't. That's a complete lie. In terms of their brain and how they react, they are trained just as much as the women are trained. They probably suffer as much. That would be wrong to say.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Brian, for joining as well. If I can just say thank you very much for popping in, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Right now we're talking about and it's a fine line, kind of a bit of an issue right now that's very topical, is how much of this is biological and how much of it is sociological.
Yes.
It really, because we are, as men and women, conditioned to hold ourselves to certain expectations culturally, but how much of that is actually ingrained in our biology? That's
well, this is the big thing I got into an argument with Manda about, because we don't have a clue. We genuinely do not have a clue how our society would be run by women.
Yeah.
Because they are that you can't take the women that we have now and say that the society that they run would be a certain way, because we've spent thousands of years basically subjugating them, saying that they are going to be this way, and it affects everything. I don't know how it would end up. I would dearly love to know how it would end up, but Amazon, I don't know. Say again?
Amazon women.
Consider
There's nothing to compare us to either, because any society in the past that was based that way is not comparable to the way women are now. So
look at the political rhetoric around Hillary Clinton when she was running, in 2016. There were people, left and right, saying that, look, if we get a President Hillary Clinton, she's more likely to take us to war than Donald Trump. Like, the idea was, like, in order to prove herself in this man's world of politics in America, she's gonna overcompensate and be more aggressive. I don't know if there's anything true to that or not, because it was just a prediction, but it seemed pretty sexist to me to assume it one way or the other.
I understand the reasoning behind it and everything, but I don't see that as being plausible. I think that's pretty.
But the point is, it's enough that people will feed into it and believe it.
Yeah.
All they've got to do is believe it.
Stereotypes, yeah.
And this is what I mean about the men being trained as well. But both sexes are trained so that when they hear something like this, that they'll believe it.
Yeah.
Is it?
And that's the
Is there maybe a thing with, like, I don't know if it's the case in any other Western countries, but it seems like in a lot of political ideology in the United States, men tend to, like, lean on sort of political ideologies that rest on magical thinking. So if you get, like, if you're a Christian, if the country's just right with Jesus, then everything else will work itself out. If you're a conservative, if you just get these fundamental, traditional, conservative economic principles right, everything else will work out. And those people are generally unreliable and incompetent.
Yeah. But the evangelicals follow Trump because he is pro-life. They don't care about any of his other policies.
It's an agenda.
At the end of the day, they can tuck themselves into bed saying, I'm good with Jesus because I went with the guy that was pro-life.
And if the country's good with Jesus, Jesus will bless the country, and everything's going to work out just fine. Yeah.
The evangelistic statistic, though, what is the general age of what we would refer to as an evangelist? You're not going to find someone around 17, 18. They may be an extremist or, sort of that idea, and you obviously have the young earth creationism. We can maybe bring that up and blame that on the way they were raised, this, that, and the other. But the statistics as a whole, evangelists are an older group of people. The way we need to start moving forward is with our kids. Our children should always be an improvement upon who we are. And, it's the ideas that we take that we have problems with that we raise our kids with thinking differently. I know Brian has kids, Amanda has kids. I've only got a 3-year-old, but like, my wee girl gets as dirty as a boy does. She has the same interests that a boy does, yet when she comes home and at the end of the night, she wraps up with her doll, she gets a blanket and she wants to go to sleep. It's an experience of everything. She gets as dirty as she does get with a pram. It's about bringing up our kids and creating that mindset where we can see that there is no difference. I bought her a black doll for Christmas. My granny of 82 is like, why did you buy a black doll? I'm like, didn't see a black doll, seen the baby pick one. We took her to the shop, that's the one she wanted. And it's about raising our kids with the differences, without seeing the differences. Everybody is the fucking same. It's only different when it's pointed it out. You watch a movie and there's a whining noise in the background, your partner hears, you don't hear it till they point it out, then that's all you can hear. You don't notice it until it's pointed out.
What I was just thinking about,
I went in a rant there, but yes, I'm going to swap Jeff out and bring Epsilon in, and I'm going to swap Sal out, and I'm going to bring Grumpy in. So if time goes by, man, we'll get you back in again. Hopefully we'll go for a wee while, but if anyone's any thoughts on that or want to tell me to shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut up.
I've got 2 kids, so 2 under 5. I think exactly the same.
Yeah.
My little lady is absolutely crazy. We'll jump in the water, mud, superhero costumes today, if you follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, DC,
yeah.
Marvel, yeah.
And my little boy actually, I think, is going to love drama. Oh my gosh, everything is very dramatic with Charlie. Hands in the air if he can't have his computer. Oh my God. He's amazing. But anyway, we're a football family, we love football, he hates it. It's fine.
Yeah, I
It is
seen
what
you
it
say
is.
that. I seen you mention that you liked football the other day, and I lost a little respect for you.
I used to play.
Oh, if I can just say thank you very much for Ed, grumpy old dude, God as he's known amongst us, for joining. And, if anyone doesn't know, well, nobody probably knows. Up in the top corner here, we have now got Andrew. Epsilon is greater than. It's a new science channel going out into maths and physics and sort of down that direction of an educational line. So we are very lucky to have him in the community. It's always good to get somebody in who's got that piece of paper that's been through the education. We all like to think of ourselves as smart, but it does fucking help to have that little piece of paper. So thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
One thing I did want to ask you, Andrew, when I noticed you pop into the back room, your background's in maths and physics, and Manda's background is in maths and physics, and something that she has mentioned in that field when she was working in it, she did notice that it was male driven and this, that, and she was in that position where it was definitely noticeable. Being on the complete opposite other side of it, I'm not going to compare ages here, we'll assume that you're as young as she is, and did you notice that it was male driven, or was it just normal for you, from that male point of view?
Well, I mean, when I was first studying physics, I was in an engineering college, and it was, I think, 7 men to 1 woman at the college, just in general, and it was worse than that in the physics department, because a lot of the women were in like biological science rather than physics or chemistry. It was a little less so when I went for my education degree, but still I guess what we would call the hard sciences were dominated by men.
See, that's another bad
Three
phrase.
of
They're
us
hard
girls,
science.
and 3 of us to, I think, close to 30 guys. When I came into the astrophysics program freshman year, and I think one of the girls dropped out. So there was only 2 of us left at the end. So.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's been my experience, and I don't know why it is.
I don't either.
Well, one thing that you mentioned, man, being through it yourself, or as you say, that you did find that the women that were in the sciences were more in the biological sciences. I'm going to be really fucking broad brushing and misogynistic here. Do you think it's because women have that more maternal instinct, that more want to look after people, or be doctors or anything, or was it just the numbers?
Not your face.
You were warned. You were warned,
But it's just wrong, honey.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. Although there may be a possibility that women are discouraged from pursuing mathematics, because it's like the sciences that required more of that had fewer women. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I was gonna say, when in terms of my undergrad and getting my astrophysics degree, there were very few professors. I think there were more professors my first year, like intro to mechanics and stuff like that, that were women. But the further along down the degree we went, less. I don't think I had one female professor my last 3 semesters for my astrophysics degree. Not one. So
yeah,
that's really notable. It's hard to because you want to talk to your professors and more people in the community or people in the field and get a feel for what you're going to be doing with your degree. But you come into these roadblocks where you don't. It's hard to relate to somebody that isn't a woman at all. When you find none of them, it's hard. And I think that can be a discouragement in of itself. So
that's possible. I mean, unfortunately, I've heard horror stories from women in the sciences, but I can't really address any of this directly because I haven't been there to see it.
Obviously, you're
You
not going
know,
to be admitting to being a misogynistic bastard on your first night on stream, so it's like.
well, I mean, also I never went that high in academia. I have a where's that coming from?
Ed?
I have a bachelor's degree and I taught high school. That's my, that's as far as I went into academia. So I don't know what it's like in graduate school.
Ed's gotta go. Bye, Ed.
Perfect. There you go, Maya. Slot just opened up. Jump yourself in. We'll get a couple of strong, powerful women. The slot I'm going to leave open. I know there's a few people in the back room, but considering we're talking about how basically women are better, yeah, more women the better. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail the conversation there. I was just...
You broke it.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the statistics based on what you said there. And there is some, at least for what's earning, and the statistics may be a little bit dated. We see, we have 20%, 20.8% of women earning a science doctoral degree. This is 2014. 22.8% engineering and 53.3% biology. So there is some statistics to back up what you were saying there, MathPig.
Thank you for being my only friend on the panel, Brian. Maya, thank you very much for joining us. I know nobody can see me at the minute. Give me a second. Boom, there we go. So, Maya, thank you very much for joining us. I know that you're another very opinionated, very strong, very smart woman in the community. So if you've anything to tell us men that we're wrong about, go right ahead.
No, well, everybody's got their own opinion, and I try really hard to allow people to have their own opinions as long as they're not being dicks about it. So sorry if I'm kind of out of it today. I got laid off from my job in like April, May, and so about a month ago, I took a temp job to make ends meet, like you do. And it's just like this soul-sucking, like, fuck of a thing that pays me weekly. And so I'm just like, I come in here, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to decompress. And my MathPig's like, hey, bitch, get in here. And, my first response was like, fuck off. But then we were talking about, like, women's rights issues. And I was like, wait a minute. Let me get ready.
Prepare the world,
I will say one. We do have research stating that it is the reason that we don't have women going into like math and science and the yada yada. And if anybody, like, I don't know, I'm so used to being on the GDC and people like fighting me on every point. If you need studies, I can provide them, but women are socialized at a very young age, like under the 5th grade, to be more towards the more humanistic side. Everybody knows that girls are kind of groomed as well. So, we don't want to fight. We don't want to push. We don't want to be that nasty woman. We want to be amicable and, go with the flow and the mothers, the peacemakers, all that stuff. And it's caused so many issues with women in the world. But also the mentality, whenever you have the woman, the Hillary Clinton, who I'm not a Hillary fan by any means, but she was as bad as all 17 of the Republicans on the stage with her, right? But she was worse. She was just like them. So she's a bitch. And I didn't say anything at the time. God knows she did. And her entire team did. There were articles on it ad nauseum after the fact. About the misogyny and, all the other things that factored into her losing the election. And watching Joe Biden's rise to power, and Joe Biden, by all accounts, stands to the right of Hillary Clinton on every issue. And, you know, he's like the saint, the savior. Now, agreed, we've had 4 years of Trump. So the bar is like on the floor in the corner over there somewhere. But we really do have like more stuff on him than we ever did on her. But it's just like, it's just, I don't know. I've been saying this in Ethan or Progressive Liberal. Everybody go to Progressive Lib channel and sub too. But I've been saying this a lot over the past all year. Just like
women are just expected to be pure.
Yeah,
it seems, especially in America, it's easier to forgive a guy when guy's being a guy, fucked up, whatever. Yeah. It's like the whole thing with the pussy grabbing incident. It kept giving me out that it was just locker room talk. Which is fucking
Same with Joe Biden. Like, well, we don't have any evidence. After the whole, like, you know, believe women and, you know, Trump, Kavanaugh, that one guy, Roy Moore, even our own, who's the guy that had to step down? I know you're talking about. Franklin, yeah. Al Franken. Al Franken. Thank you. Yeah, no, like
she even admitted he didn't necessarily have to.
Biden. It's like, well, we don't know. Like, it's just the hypocrisy.
But women can't get away with that for some reason. If we've done something wrong, then that's it. It's just over for us.
Yeah,
we messed up with Benghazi or the emails. That's it. End of everything.
And emails.
Something
totally ruined her career.
Yeah, and 5 minutes later, it's but we need to forgive. Well, fuck that. We need to forgive. Like, why can't we?
It's like, well, how long ago was this, and why is she just now coming forward? It's like, no, she's been trying to come forward for 20 years.
Yeah.
But Hillary Clinton did something that everyone else was doing, even Republicans, 20 Republicans that were doing the same goddamn thing at the same time. Yeah. But that's abysmal.
No. It's just there for some reason. I don't know if it's because maybe women are held to a higher standard.
Yeah,
men are expected. Like I said, boys will be boys. They fuck up and then they're forgiven. For some reason, women are held to a higher standard, and if we fall, we're not only we're not looked down upon for our fall, but we're expected to pick our own damn selves up. So.
There's definitely societal expectations that we are placing on ourselves, even the women. If you look at Republican women, or look at Fox News, like all those women, you know, I mean, they're hideous, but they're gorgeous, you know, but that's the standard, you know, and I think I heard you saying this more than once, like whenever somebody doesn't like what you say, like you're ugly. You know, like you don't deserve to have a voice because you're not pretty enough. What's the fuck?
Trump just called Kamala nasty like 30 times in one speech. You know, he's always got to go for the. But I was thinking, in terms of what I was talking about before, when having trouble advancing in certain careers and STEM and stuff like that, I look back at some of my female professors who told me to my face that as a woman I would have to work at least twice as hard, which. While true, is also kind of discouraging and defeating in and of itself because they're telling you already have this wall up against you.
Right.
I think while, you know, us women are constantly trying to help each other and lift each other up, you know, and we think things like this is going to help by telling the women coming behind us, you know, work as hard as you can. You're probably going to have to work harder. And while true, it's still... I don't think it helps the situation to say, you know, you're fucked before you start.
I think it. I mean, I can't say. I mean, I don't want women to not say that. If that's
no, that's what I'm
saying. It's demoralizing, and you also get that as a Black person too. And it's not just in the workplace; it's everywhere I go. I'm like very much aware. Anytime I'm mad, that I have to keep myself in check because it's not just me. I'm reinforcing a stereotype, whether it be on women or Black people. Anytime I want to just be mad, anytime I want to stand up for myself.
The mad woman is shrill, you know.
But you see, there is certain things that stick across a demographic regardless of how small or big. If you're one, you're always one. I'm not going to say if you're a Christian, you're always a Christian. But, you know, looking at just the statistics of the population of, I'm not anti-Semitic, but Jews are classed as Jews regardless of whether they lose their religion or not. They're always, you know, it's used as a pejorative. It's a bad term. But for such a small population, you know, once you're a Protestant, you're not always a Protestant. It's not something that's constantly brought up afterwards. There is certain things that society has just particularly fucking latched on to, especially if it can be used to dehumanize, to put down, and to push up the stereotype of what we are. What I am is the strong white male, you know, and if there's anything, because we're in power, we can push forward ideas, we can push forward thoughts, and these stereotypical ideas of you know, and these stereotypes that we have, we can keep yous down. It dehumanizes people if you can give it a nickname. You know, it's not this person, it's this asshole, it's this prick, it's, you know, you take the face, the humanity away from the people.
So having 3 strong women on the panel right now that can have strong opinions, what steps could we start taking to make a change, to give more awareness, to empower women a lot more?
The Spartan theology just did a good answer. Agree with all the women.
Well, yeah, I know people get mad at the whole hashtag believe women thing, and I do want to put out there, because I try to do that anytime I can. Hashtag believe women isn't believe only women or at, you know, all the time. What we were having was an issue of, you know, oh, boys will be boys, and we would believe the man over the woman and not believe the woman at all. And so believing women isn't about believe the woman over the man. It's about, okay, I have 2 people saying something here, and I don't want to he say, she say it. I really need to look into this and don't just throw it out. That is helpful to believe women, because I think, I can't remember if I was on this show or another one, and I was talking about how, you know, I don't feel comfortable doing business. Like every time I go to buy a car, I used to always have my dad, and now it's my husband with me. At some point in the interaction, because you know, after, I mean, they're very different. Like my husband's a big hillbilly from West Virginia. My dad's a city boy, but he's a big black man, and very he can be overbearing. Yeah. So after dealing with them, like, hey, what are you going to do? You're going to give my wife a deal, and you know, that's my little girl, bastard. You know, and then I come in, I'm like, hey guys, and they're like, oh fuck.
No, I can totally understand that. Working in that industry from the other side, when I worked in a depot, different one that I'm working in now, and there was a little old lady at about 70-year-old that lived less than, oh fuck, she couldn't have been 100 yards from where I worked, and she drove more than 10 miles to a different place to get all her work done. The reason I know this is because she woke up one morning and had a complete flat tire. There was nothing else she could do. She had absolutely no other recourse but to drive here. When she found out that the place had been taken over and I was the new manager there and I was this, that and the other, tell her, she brought this up. She told me that the previous manager, as you say, Maya, not that your husband is a stereotypical of this, but it's, you know, I'm a man disregarding the little old lady, women don't know fuck all, and you know,
it's
she
very
did
common.
not.
I've heard this from a lot of women, and you have the husband as the buffer, you know, because like you otherwise, I mean, and it's a shame, but I've heard so many women tell the story that they have to have that guy as a buffer, or I've heard a lot of women tell the story like, well, they know how their car should look, and you know, they could tell that the oil hadn't been changed, or that the spark plugs hadn't been changed, or you know, that they were bullshitting them on, you know, this thing that most women don't care enough to be knowledgeable on.
Less than 6 months ago, Maya, that has happened. I have witnessed that. The garage that I work in specialises in a particular thing that a lot of garages don't. And this woman had came to our place. She tried to get it done twice. It didn't fix the problem. I sent her to her mechanic and I says, look, get your specialist to look at this particular thing. This may be the problem. He then charged her for 2. And when she came in, he changed the left front wheel and he changed the right front wheel, the particular part. And when she came in to get the specialist bit done, I'm underneath the car and one of them's black with silver brand new parts and the other one's rusty. and they charged her for 2. Now, I particularly pointed it out to the woman, and she had said to me, look, they replaced the both of them to keep it fair and even things out. And when I was finished, I was like, no, they didn't. They did not. They only replaced the front driver's one. She then went back, and it turned out that the owner was on holiday, and the guy that was in charge, now he did get reprimanded for it, according to her, but he basically took advantage of a woman. She doesn't know. So he charged her for double. And, you know, it does happen.
I tell you,
B, thank you for joining.
I tell you, what I have always done is I have always called ahead of time and got an estimate, because my voice, I could drop my voice down an octave and sound more like a guy. And then they call me Seth or Jeff or whatever. And then when I get there and they try to jack the price up on me, I'm like, no, I called for an estimate already.
You see, that's a fucking...
Oh, what's your name?
Now, you see, I understand where you're coming from.
And then they say, who? I'm like, you kept calling me Seth and Jeff. I think you wrote it underneath one of those. And then they're like, oh.
I understand.
I've done that every time I've got a vehicle worked on.
I do understand where you're coming from. Right? But the problem is, from my point of view, seeing you do that, and I know that that's, like, I'm not going to negate everything that you've been through in your life or what women have been through, but it does help keep the fucking shit going. You know, the fact that you have to do that. When they call you Seth, you say, no, I'm fucking bad. You know, make the point. Once you get the price, once you've, you know,
I corrected them and they just kept saying other names.
You know, it does help propagate the problem. Like. So thank you.
Yeah, because they don't think a woman's going to call in and say, I have this problem with my car. Women just drive up and say, I don't know what's wrong.
I can genuinely tell you.
I mean, it's just, you know, the point is just like women have to like figure out how to work in our role just not to get fucked over. And it would be nice if you would just like give us the benefit of the doubt. Or if you would like look at like what I do a lot of times whenever I'm conflicted, whenever I have like with Trump, I do this a lot with Trump. I'm like, okay, would I be as upset if like put Obama there? Would this thing have made me as upset? And so, like, I would say to, like, maybe men, if you're wondering, like, why am I so mad at Hillary Clinton or whatever your deal may be? Why am I mad? And then put someone you really like in the situation. If my mother had done this, if my father had done this, would this have made me as mad? If the answer is no, then you've got a bias there that you need to address. Not just, I mean, for yourself and for society at large. And then make sure that we're calling one another on these biases. And, you know, from a woman's perspective and from a black person's perspective, we need white men to speak up. When you see your friends doing these things, they take you more seriously than they take us. I mean, it's just that.
Well, and saying that, everything that we have been focusing on tonight is more, I'm going to have to fucking pick my words so I don't get fucking slapped here. You know, we all know what we've been talking about tonight, you know, and the focus on about how men are bastards and women are better. We'll go with that, right? But one thing that I have noticed over time, and what was taught in school when I was in school and more put across, was not that the girls were down and they were in wood shop, as the Americans would call it, or technology as we would call it over here. But I have seen, as a generational thing as it goes on, you know, men don't know how to cook. My dad doesn't have a fucking clue how to cook, like, you know, and there is a lacking and a fault in that, because again, with the splitting and the, you know, the classification, women are women, this is their jobs, men are men, this is their jobs. We want women to know more about engines. We want women not to be ripped off in the garages. I'd still like my dad not to die of starvation if my ma went on holiday. Like, it's been a reason that I've said to her, look, your birthday's coming up, I'm going to buy you a weekend away with Auntie Anne. Can't do that. Thomas couldn't cope for 3 days on his own. Fuck Tommy. You know, as much as I love my dad, it's, you know, my mother needs that freedom. He needs to be to that stage where he can cook. You know, he gets a dinner put in front of him at night. He texts half an hour when he's away from home. So the dinner, as soon as it goes out on the table, he literally walks through the door and it's sitting waiting on him. If he's on his own, he's probably living on beans and toast. It is something that we need to address on the other side as well. There is lackings in what men are capable of as well. Like, we need to... Like, I can sew. I can't knit, but my mother did make sure that I could sew a patch on my trousers and that I could cook a dinner. Like, you know, these are necessities that both sides need to know.
Well, there's a demographic that are pushing to retain that they don't like women moving into knowing men stuff and men moving into knowing women stuff. I know I'm a pretty feminine guy, and I get hassled a lot because I sew and garden and all that stuff that generally was traditionally a woman's interest. So
I can arrange flowers better than any woman, man.
Yeah, same here. I get beautiful bouquets.
There's a push to retain that. They want to go back to when boys were boys and when women were women and all this. And it's mostly, and I don't want to say it's on party lines, but you can't help but notice that it seems to be more of a conservative approach.
Something in that, though, that I could say, though, Brian, that people want men to be manly men because then they'll fit in, they'll get that tribe. It's something that's already existed. It's a group of people. It's a collection that you can be comfortable in because society has already accepted that. Women being women, it can be, embrace you and move you up the hierarchy, move you up in high school and this, that, and the other because you're being what society expects you to be. What we need to do, rather than trying to go back to the male-dominated and this dominated because that's what gets you forward, what we need to do is make normality and everybody the same, the equality. We need to make it equal so that everybody can move forward regardless of who they are. We don't need to plagiate towards them stereotypes, like as I said with it's shitty that she has to do that. It's fucking awful. It should be something that's just normal. We should be able to just see people for the level that they're being approached. You go for a job, judge you on your, what your education is, how you work with people. Fuck me, if you're going to go work in McDonald's, just judge you on how you are with people. Judge you on the things that's relative to the position and the workplace and the situation that you're going for, rather than just looking at people. And I'm not saying everybody get rid of their sex and gender and everybody be the same, but just ignore that point. It shouldn't be something that jumps out. We're all human. Everybody should just be looked at. There's your eyes, there's your nose, use your mouth, talk to me. That's it. It's...
Matt, you brought up...
That's what I was...
Oh, go ahead, B.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was actually going to bring that up because I've spent 2/3 to 3/4 of my life in guys' jobs, like truck driver, construction, rough landscaping, and I was always judged because I have boobs. And I always had to bust my ass and do a 10 times better of a job than them to get that promotion that they would have gotten easily. And so that's the reason I really came on here. I don't know anything about the history or the different countries. I don't know any shit about that. What I know is that I've literally walked into a place, applied, have more qualifications than the guy standing next to me because I talked to him waiting on the interview, and they gave him the position. And the guy had a DUI on his record, and they still gave him the position than me because I was a female truck driver. So, that's what I've lived with my whole life. I've always dealt with having to fight that stigma, and I always bust my ass 10 times more than the person next to me, even if it's a female, because I'm just in the habit of doing it now. I don't know how to not work hard. So I kill myself every day trying to prove that I'm good enough because I'm just in the habit of it at this point.
Right.
Man,
No, I mean,
there is
a
that
lot of
sort
us
of...
have to do that. I mean, and the statistics bear out, though, too, right? I mean, everybody, I don't know, I'm on Twitter a lot, so I get a lot of shit about, like, affirmative action, but I'm like, this is kind of why. I see statistics about how it's harder for a black man with a clean record to get a job than a white man with a record. We need to be cognizant of our ought statements, right? Those things that we just take for granted. A woman ought to act like this. A man ought to act like that. And just constantly challenge ourselves. Like, why? Why can't, if I'm a man, why can't I make dinner? Why can't we switch off? My husband makes dinner every night. And only because I cook too healthy for him.
Yeah, Manda is making me eat healthier, but I can foresee me doing most of the cooking. I'm eating less meat and I have lost a wee bit of weight and more vegetables. So they are a good influence. A statistic I did see one time is, and again, I'm going to paraphrase this. This is a pigsty. I'm going to just pull numbers out roughly. But, late 20s, early 30s, for a man, if he finds a partner and settles down, his health gets better. His stress levels get better. His mental health gets better. everything around that gets better. You then flip it round and look at a woman. For the same age groups, their stress goes up, their health goes down, their sleep goes down. They've just realised they've picked up a second child. You know, it's... Jeff's laughing, but it's true, man. You know,
absolutely the truth.
You know, it is true. Us men are useless. You know, and I definitely have seen an improvement in an awful. You know, my sleep patterns maybe a wee bit went out the window. That's Amanda's fault, but everything else generally around it is an improvement. And you know, at the end of the day, when you find a partner, regardless of what your sex, your gender, or if you're a dirty lesbian like B, it does not matter. As long as you can find a partner that helps improve you, and that you can try and help it find or try and do and help improve them back. That's what we're here for. We're not trying to, you know, find an equal. Find someone that sees better in you than you feel, and feel the same about them. Make them strive to be the person that you see them as. And she's giving me the fucking finger in the back room. I fucking can't believe it.
Where did she go? Where is she?
Hold on. Eyes, I'm going to swap you eyes. I'm going to swap out eyes. Give me 1 second. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I
got it.
You know, something you said, MathPig, about like you know, all people complaining, I can't say these kinds of words or I'm going to get slapped. I don't understand why that's an actual complaint, because men have been doing that for each other probably since the dawn of time, right? Like there are things we won't say to each other for fear that guy is going to like punch us in the neck. The idea that like we don't give women the same kind of like, you know, like, yeah, if you say these kinds of things, she can stab you in the neck with a broken beer bottle. Like, yeah, so be careful with what you say. Like I've never really understood that as a complaint, a basis for complaint from anybody.
I see
some people are sensitive, and some aren't.
It's the community you're in. The way you're brought up. There are a lot of factors involved. They go in a bunch of different directions. I can only give my perspective, and I have I'm like probably there's very few boys in my family. The majority is women. I have a sister. I have nieces. The only thing I can do growing up at the age that I did and seeing all the changes that have happened is just to find a way to keep that progression, to accept the changes that are going to occur as life continues. That has to be conserved and it has to be practiced a lot more. Otherwise, there is not going to be an opportunity for any woman to get past an issue that you're blaming on societal constructs that unfortunately run our fucking world. I mean, there's progress. It's moving, but I guess I'm saying it because I'm talking about it from a perspective of America. Because the rest of the world moves along. The rest of the world is progressing, women leaders, scientists, etc. And we're here bitching and complaining and not understanding. It's because we've held ourselves back. A new conversation, a new conversation needs to be started. A new conversation needs to be had. There needs to be a lot more affirmation in how you feel as a leader being a woman in this country. That must start to happen with confidence and moving forward. That's what I want to teach my nieces. Yeah. I want them to be leaders. I want them to be better than me. Yeah. And the level of confidence has to be boosted somewhere. It should start immediately.
Anybody here?
Yeah, but in America, we need to be more committed to education too, right? I mean, we have large groups of people trying to fight for creationism being taught in schools alongside evolution. We have the government constantly deployed. We have people concerned that there are people who want to defund the police, but not concerned at all that they've been defunding the education system for years. We want to live in our bubbles. We don't want to extend an olive branch to the other side. We want to demonize one another. We want to write people off. We've got to be committed to open and honest conversation with people that are not in our group.
Absolutely.
And I don't even know like where we start with that
Well,
because
you know,
like
from a personal note, Maya, you know, in raising my wee girl, her nickname is Beautiful. You know, she knows to turn around when I say beautiful just as quick as when I say her name, because that's like a nickname I have. You know, it's when we're out walking the dog and I'm teaching her how to control the dog as a small thing. I know it's a small thing, but you know, she's 3 and my dog knows now to heel at her foot when we're out walking without the lead, because she had the lead. I give it to her. If he pulled, she would yank back on it and she would stop and go, stamp the foot, I'm the boss. She is fucking confident, you know, and maybe it's the redhead, maybe it's the Irish, but it's something that I want to encourage. And as much as that'll sting me when she's 16, I'd rather she was annoyed with me for 5 or 6 years and hate her father and be a strong, confident woman for the rest of her life than, you know, I could do with them a couple of years. Yeah, she can go talk to her mum for that stage.
no, I mean, that it doesn't matter what you say to her. She's gonna hate you for a couple of years, and
it's just one of those things.
She's gonna have it.
You talk about you know, our need to reach across the aisle and have a dialogue with the other side and try our best not to demonize, which, I mean, obviously that's true. It's especially something as partisan as everything has become in our country. We absolutely need to do that. Yeah. But how do you do that when you look across the aisle and they're telling you that you're not worth what they're worth, that you're not, you know, you don't belong, or, you know, whether it be because of your gender or because of your color or because, you know, you're LGBTQ or any of it. How do you respond when it's just hate coming at you from the other side?
This is a quote Michael Shannon has said, yeah, there's such a thing as reaching across the aisle, but you also don't want to stick your hand in a fan, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody groups are actively programming their own members to shut you down from the jump. They're not interested in an honest discussion, and they have the conservative movement, a lot of the harder right-wing conservative movement in this country has about a 40-year jump on indoctrinating members to look for key words from left-wing opponents to shut them up, shut them down, and turn them away. So it's been a dishonest stance from them for quite a while, and we're seeing the fruits of it. I mean, that
right, but I mean, not everybody works for PragerU, right?
Amanda works for NASA. She gets her monthly shield checks, you know.
there are worse groups than PragerU. PragerU is just the tip of the iceberg. It goes.
No, I know, but I'm trying to talk about that. You know, everybody's seen the commercials here, and it's an easy dig. But when there are people that, you know, get money from assholes to support their opinions, right? And then there are the assholes that are paying them, that are just genuinely disgruntled. They've never met the people that they hate. They're just told something and everyone around them thinks it, and so they're going with it. Like, these are the people that I'm talking about. Like, the people, there's a black guy that I think he's collected over 200 KKK robes, and it's just from like sitting down and talking to them, and they're like, oh my god, I didn't know black people were reasonable. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna get out of this. He's got like over 200 robes. Like, they give them over to him, like, I'm out of this now. It can happen, but you know, which is why I try so hard when I'm in like Discord or on Twitter to have these conversations, because like the conversation we've been having in Discord this week is what people deserve. And it's like, well, they said this, so they're fair game, or they deserve me to call them fat or call them ugly or, you know, make disparaging remarks. I am in a minority here, I know, but I don't think that there's something that someone can do to devalue themselves as human being. I fight really hard. I'm very vocal, at least, about prisoner rights. Because I don't think there's anything you can do that can devalue you as a human being. Like, there's no situation where we should be treating other human beings as less than. And what's the goal, right? If my goal is to have less racists in the world, then maybe I don't want to look like that angry black woman. I don't want to look like that raging monkey that they perceive me to be. I'm just feeding into stereotypes at that point. I do keeping my cool, taking my ego out, trying to have a conversation, and letting them know, like, nobody feels more petty than when I'm an adult. I'm just having a conversation with you. Why are you walling out? I don't understand this. And then you have the audience there too. Like, everybody on Twitter can read and see this. And you look like the asshole. And you know, I walked away looking like, you know, say Mother Teresa, she's pretty bad. You know?
I was gonna say, don't say that one. Oh my God,
Mother Mary.
There you go. There you go.
You know, I know that for a lot of people, I'm an outlier. And I've been told to my face, it's like, oh, well, you're not a normal black person.
Sorry, fucking ridiculous.
If I can just do really quickly interrupt, the back room, the way StreamYards is limited, I can have 10 on, 10 in the back room. So if I can bounce.
Hey, somebody wanted to get their Christian wife in here.
Yes.
I would love that.
So Kevin, if I can just, Kevin's in the back room and he's not on screen at the minute. He hasn't been. I am being a complete asshole because he's fantastic and does do the background music that you are all listening to. But
wait, I have a question for Maya though. Did these people tell you what?
Dave, you need to do it.
Shut the fuck up. What a real black person was supposed to act like? Like, did they?
Yeah. I'm supposed to be in a gang. Maybe have a gun. I'm supposed to be, trying to rob their mother for, you know, her purse or her penny change purse or whatever. Or maybe planning on robbing their house tonight.
Can I say something? I gotta say something. I live in an area that is half Hispanic and half white, and there's like 10 black people. And I'm gonna tell you that the level of that lower level shit is all in the Hispanic and the white community here. I have not seen not one black person that looked disrespectful, gang-like, stole from us. I mean, I kick thieves out of my store every day.
Dave, you need to get out.
They're 70%, 65 to 70% Hispanic, and the rest white people.
Do you mean to tell me
kiss my ass?
that one of those black people were walking menacingly?
Walking while black.
Yeah, well, none of them were walking while black. They were just walking while human. No, it's serious. I'm serious. They are all like, educated, polite, respectful. I love it when they come in my store because I know I'm going to have a good customer and I don't have to deal with some bullshit. I absolutely love it. I'm like, yes, black person. It's literally like that here.
I need to correct
myself. My point is it depends on the area you're in. People say here, oh, the Hispanics are trash, but there's white people that are trash too. Yeah. You know? Oh no, I lied. There's one homeless black guy that's an asshole. I'm sorry, he's an alcoholic. One homeless black guy that's an asshole.
Probably just have that black coworker that they never talk to, right? They've never really met black. There's a lot of areas where there are no black people. Yeah. And all you know is what you see on
my
TV.
Last job.
Or like
Ohio.
Spooky Bed here is telling me that I'm in his gang, and I need to, like, I don't know what our hand sign is there.
Andrew, I'm very sorry. Andrew, I don't know what's going on here. Have we got enough rooms? Has Spartan Theology, Spartan, you have the link, give it to the wife. If she can't get in, we'll try and find a slot or kick someone. It's fucking StreamYards it's a very bad setup. Very bad setup.
So I wanted to say something what you were talking about, Maya, because I was actually saying something about that on the chat. The problem I get is if I stand up for myself and say anything, I'm automatically the angry lesbian. Oh, you just hate men. No, actually, I don't. Most of my friends are guys. I love to hang out with them. Just because I don't suck their dick doesn't mean I don't like them. I have my best friend is my brother. I don't hate guys. I just don't want to sleep with it. It's not the same thing. See, exactly. See what I'm saying? Like that's my brother from another mother right there. I love that guy. I love Brian. I think so. It has nothing to do with the. That's exactly what they do. Just like they point at you and say black. they point at me and say lesbian, angry lesbian.
Well, yeah, okay,
same fucking thing.
You guys are uniquely different, the LGBT community, and I'm sorry, I know I've been filibustering, but we're talking civil rights, and that's my ish.
No, go.
Okay, so
go. Say
they
what you
have
want
a
to say, baby.
book that tells them that they have to hate you, right? They thought hating me was in their book, but it's not. Like, they can't find it anywhere.
Damn.
But they have to hate you, like, or else God will hate them, and you guys get eternity together, like, burning in hell. It's just uniquely different, and it's going to be. We need to move the window over a little bit more for. But you guys are. I mean, it's coming. Like we are. I mean, in the last 20 years, the level of respect that's being given to members of the LGBT community and trans. Holy shit!
It's changed so much. Oh my God!
It's coming.
I came out 19 years ago, and I'm telling you, it's a big difference from having a guy with a rebel flag in the back of his truck driving around you and yelling fucking dyke because he sees you with your girlfriend in the parking lot. Literally happened to me. To now, where even when I was in Ohio a year ago, before I moved here, it still wasn't that bad. The honestly, who has the more stigma than anybody is the male to female trans and gay men. They have the biggest problems right now.
Yeah.
Because people can handle, straight guys can handle lesbians. Oh, it's kind of cool. I want to see that. But when it comes to men, doing whatever they want, my God, it's horrible. You're not allowed to cry. You can't suck a dick. They're not allowed to do any of that.
Yeah, being a woman or feminine.
Just if I can shout out, if I can just jump in and shout out, right? We're going to do a 5-minute warning for Spartan Theology's wife. If she can get in, I do hate to use that term and make her his wife, but I don't know her name. He did ask, and she is more. I'd love to have again, I'm going to be an asshole, Christian wife's perspective. Spartan is very progressive though, and he's one of my favorite Christians in the community. And if you haven't checked out his channel, go and do. He's open to conversation. He's open to an awful lot. So I'm going to do a 5-minute warning. If we can have them in, we'll continue the conversation. If not, I think we've been going an hour and a half, so it's sort of running down. But 5-minute warning if we can get Spartan's wife in, and after that, if not, we'll start winding it up then.
All right, damn it. One of you guys with penises, get the hell out of here. Let her in.
Who's got the biggest penis of them all? There's B. All right. Now there's a slot.
Oh. White guys, do you want to say anything for yourself?
She's just mad I can buy mine. That's all it is.
We can buy them too.
I've already volunteered to bow out if necessary.
I have a question in terms of what we're, the topic we were discussing. If we're going to have, if we're going to veer toward at least a more equal side of leadership, men and women, and now having Kamala Harris possibly come in, how much growing room is there going to need to be? Like where it was mentioned earlier that it was worried that Hillary might try to act more in a male fashion because she's trying to show that she's just one of the guys as opposed to being everybody's worst fear and being a female. So when you eventually have a woman in power, is there going to be that time frame where it's going to be women in power for a certain amount of time that are trying to prove that they're not too feminine? Like how a lot of people complained that when Obama was in the White House, he had to attempt to come across as less black, and he had to put more effort into that, which was stupid. But do you think there's going to be
it's always like
growing pains?
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, if you look at history, I'm going to say 50 to 100 years before everybody goes, okay, we don't mind. That's where we're at. All the people that are raised old-fashioned, who have been trained by their parents that men are this and women are that, until those people are gone and the children of those people decide to change their minds, this is going to keep going. And it's really difficult to break. How do you break people out of that? What do you do? I mean, should we as a country pull people from one area and put them in another for like a month so they can live there and they know what it's like? Take the rich white kids, put them in the ghetto, take the ghetto kids, put them in the, whatever. How do you do that? There's no set way. We don't have a way to do that. And until we break that, the chain just keeps on going. It's up to each person and each generation to break that chain, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel awful now that say, again, no name. So, hello, Spartan Theology's wife. Do we have something that can we call you the boss in the house, the person who wears the trousers? Something make you know?
You're also muted.
Yeah,
you're muted.
We can't hear you.
You're muted, honey.
We'll come back. Can you hear us? Yay! Thank you very much for joining us. Now that say again, no name. So, hello, Spartan Theology's wife. Do we have something that can we call you? You need to mute the stream in the background.
You're also muted.
Yeah,
you're muted.
We can't hear you.
You're muted, honey.
Is yeah. We can only hear the hangout. I did mute you again because we're hearing ourselves back. Again, no name. So, hello, Spartan Theology. I'm going to keep muting you because there's a stream in the background, Ethan.
Yeah, mute the YouTube stream.
Your mic is muted on top of the StreamYards being muted. You'd think Ethan would have this set up for you.
I just heard her.
You know, he just threw her under the bus, man.
Didn't he?
See, freaking men trying to make the women fail. Here we go. No, I'm getting here now. Gotta look better than the wife.
Very nice. We don't bite.
He'll get there eventually. It's easier when you're sitting in front of it when you're trying to explain to someone. It's always easier.
Her name's Trish. Call her Trish.
Trish?
Mm-hmm. Give up on chat.
Trish, can you hear us?
Not yet. They're playing. There we go. Check. Take your earphones off. Unplug them.
No.
Unplug them. Wait, take them off. No. Take out the earphones.
No, we're getting no feed. Unfortunately, Trish.
Unplug the earphones. Unplug the
Anyways, so while they fix that.
Yes, we'll hear them scream back in. This has been a wonderful conversation. I don't know. Amanda is waving her arms. I'm sure she's something to say.
I went like this for. I just wanted to say to Maya, you mentioned something about, we're talking about prison populations and stuff earlier. You and I should have a discussion.
Oh my God! Yeah, I would love that.
Years back about the privatization of prisons in our country and how
I could go for hours on that. It pisses me off.
It's too bad you missed Ed. He talks quite a bit about that too. About prison reform and stuff. Grumpy was in here
in prison for a while, so he knows a lot about the system and stuff. It's pretty awesome.
No, I'm not as liberal as. I'm probably a moderate on most issues. Like, I really don't care. Like, live and let live. But like with prisoners, I'm like if you aren't in there for life, like I think you should be able to vote. Like, fuck. I really think that's the only way they're going to get rights.
Yeah. I think Trish just sorted out.
Trish,
like right now they can just ignore them. There are states that make it really hard for them to get their voting rights back, so they just don't. There's no reason for them to have to pay attention to prisoners, and they don't want to because they tend to be lean more toward the Democratic side, and a lot of them are really heavily in red states. So what's the impetus to try to give them any rights at all? But yeah, I would, man.
Trish, how is
totally
the audio
negates
visual
the
now?
whole you have served your time thing.
Shut up, B.
That's the problem
Shut
I
up,
have
B.
with it.
Trish, are you working?
Yes, I'm working, but I was listening to Maya, what she was saying.
Sorry.
I will totally dominate the stream with this subject.
You just gotta cut in with her. It's like with me.
But yeah, just shut up, bitch. I'm so sorry. Trish, we are so happy to have you on. I saw Ethan talking about you in the chat, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would love that perspective. Because I hate echo chambers, and we need your voice. What do you have to say?
Can we talk a little bit more, and then we can decide what I have to say?
Of course.
Well, let's kind of go back. Was there Was there a reason that either you wanted to be on or that he wanted you on? Because we've been talking about a number of subjects here. I think as well, we were talking about like women's rights and women's experiences with misogyny.
Yeah.
Great to see him talking about you in the chat, and I would love to hear your perspective on it.
So I actually wanted to be on this because I thought it was kind of interesting subject, because coming from a Christian woman, and also like most people, in my personal opinion, think Christian women are very submissive to their husbands because that's what quote unquote the Bible says. But if you look at what the context says, it's completely different. So women's rights, I kind of feel like I'm half and half because in biblical perspective, like women are the same but different. And when I say, like, when they say I can't, in some reformed circles, you cannot be a preacher or you can't do this, it's really hard for me to accept because we were made in the image of God. And sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
No, I can totally see, like, you know, that is one question that I was looking forward to actually directly asking you. Is there certain things that there is in the Christian society, like, you know, female preachers and females having authority in the church? You know, does that specifically gripe you? Does it grind your gears, so to speak?
Yes, it does, because I feel like, well, yes and no. I feel like that as a whole, a man should, like, as a church perspective, that it should be, a man should be authority of it because that's just the way God presented it. But to have like an associate pastor or like a deacon or something like that, and when a church says a woman can't do that, it does grind my gears because we're in the 21st century. So I would like an opportunity to be able to do ministry, but it's really hard to be able to do that in like some church circles.
Do you mind if I ask what state you're in?
I'm in the Great Lone Star State.
Oh.
Ah.
Can I ask what church
you have a common denominator?
Or what denomination?
Technically, I go to a non-denominational Reformed church, but Reformed is just a short word for Calvinist. But I'm not really a Calvinist. I'm trying to figure out what I am.
Yeah.
Well,
you could be non-denominational and a Calvinist. Most aren't.
Talking to I would assume that you.
Well, I was raised Catholic, and then when I moved out of the Catholic Church, I went non-denominational. And I was a children's church teacher because it was one of the few places where women could teach.
That's awesome. Are you a Christian now?
No, I am. I guess none. I don't know what you call it.
Without the habit.
Yeah, I wouldn't classify myself
as
atheist.
No, I do. One thing that I have noticed, Trish, from talking to Spartan is he has a very progressive view of Christianity. It's not, you know, I could automatically know with only talking to you for 2 minutes and having that conversation that you're not out with your Bible and screaming and shouting at people. You're not telling everyone you're right and they're wrong, you know, this, that, and the other. Obviously, we always going to have our differences and our differences of opinion. But, you know, I can tell from what I know of Spartan and talking to yourself now that it's very progressive, your Christian stance as it stands. So looking at everything that we've been extremizing here and putting to extremes in the conversation with hierarchies and, you know, nuclear families and stuff, would you find being in the Christian family that you're in, that it's more equal opportunity, so to speak? You know, I don't think Spartan's the man of the house and you're the woman that makes the dinner. You know, I would assume.
No, it's definitely not like that at all. Yeah. It's definitely not like that at all.
You know, it's more of an equal opportunity. So it's an equal barrier. So it is an opportunity and it can happen in a Christian household. It's not necessarily making that statement that only secularism and only atheism can have an equal family. There is still, you both make decisions together, and I assume, and things like that. Yeah.
Yes, like definitely we're 100% a team. nobody can make an executive decision about anything without coming to each other. That's just like in a relationship type, like that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship regardless, even if you're a Christian or not. Like you're supposed to have respect for one each other to actually like care.
Well, that's the
about,
common sense idea, and that's what we all hope for. But as we all, I'm sure, hearing from the other side, so to speak, have made fun of in the past, there is that man, God, man, women do what they're told. It is something that we point out. Like,
so I actually grew up in a household like that, and it's sad to say that it was a toxic, very toxic. So I really wouldn't want it to be like, oh, my husband is the one that controls me. No, you don't control me. God controls me, or like we'll make this decision.
Yeah, so, a lot of people get the concept of submit, like wives submit to your husband, as the church submits to, is it Christ or the passage? But I don't, like, everybody wants to focus on that part of the passage, but usually when people come at me like that, my family, who haven't told that I'm not Christian yet, and I probably won't because, life's too short. Nobody really focuses on the part where the husband is supposed to love his wife as Christ loved the church. Like Christ loved the church so much that he was willing to die for it. And you would submit to a man only so far as the man is following in the footsteps of Christ. So he would love you enough to want to let you have a voice. You would be my partner because, again, Jesus said the man and woman should leave their parents and come together as one. So, like, we should be having these conversations together. And that was the household I was raised in. And my mom was probably more of the masculine role, like, there than other households I'd seen. But, like, that's how and then I have 3 brothers. And that's how we were raised. Just like, no, we are one. We walk in accordance with one another. And I'll follow you only so far as you are following God. And you start following God and start doing things that are against what God would say, I'm packing my shit, taking the kids and going. But again, I everybody has their own morals or ideas of how the verses should be interpreted.
Can I like shout out about that verse that you're talking about? Wives should be submitted to their husbands. That actually is for like wives that are their husbands are actually not Christian at the time. So so they're supposed to like agree with them and go with them because like maybe like if they maybe if their husband sees a difference, then, maybe they'll come to Christ. Or the fact that, I probably got to call Ethan on this because I'm probably quoting this wrong.
It's a Timothy 2:12. If somebody,
Trish, we have confidence in you, and at the end of the day, this is the pigsty. We're all dirty, paraphrasing, and rough around the edges. Just go with it. We'll get the point.
But basically, like... Sorry, I'm getting nervous again.
No, go ahead. You're doing great.
You're
doing fine.
B can take her top off if it helps.
Yeah. Put your hair down. Relax. Please.
Hold on. My dog is wanting out. Okay.
I'm good now.
Okay. So the verse like basically is telling the wife to submit to in a way that so your relationship can be in harmony. So it's not necessarily to like completely like if Ethan tells me not to do something, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not what like submitting in the Bible means in that context.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wanted to double check my understanding of it. It's definitely talking about a godly relationship. There's another verse, and I can't remember which book it's in, that talks about like what to do when you're unequally yoked, which I think is what you're referencing. But
Peter, but it's the book of Peter.
Okay, right. And then, yeah, and that's different where you still submit to your husband, but you're allowed to divorce. If and only if you're Christian, he's not.
Would it cause a problem in the relationship, Trish, if Spartan, after hanging around, or Ethan, sorry, after hanging around with all us fucking crazy heathens and all the rest of it, and do you think the fact that he decided maybe possibly not to go with you to church on a Sunday, okay, you can still do what you're doing and everything, and he's not going to discourage from it, but not encourage it. Do you think that it would cause problems? Is Christianity fundamental? I'm getting really personal. Fundamentalist in your relationship, or do you think it just wouldn't give a shit because you love the bones, Ethan?
So Christ is a fundamental of a relationship, and I would, if it was like the first 2 weeks not wanting to go to church, I would be like, okay, what's going on here? And then after the third week, and he's saying I'm not going, and I'm like, yeah, you're going. Like, you need to go. Like, that's
a good, strong female response, regardless of whether it's church or not. You're fucking going, I'm telling you.
Listen, I'm a strong, independent woman, and I don't need a man to tell me what to do.
Trish, if those roles were reversed and you decided you didn't want to go to church, and then Spartan was having that conversation with you, see, lots of people would find that really problematic, that a dude is telling you what to do. So, like, in my view, that's a really problematic way to have a relationship, is to say you've got to go. Like, I'm not digging at your Christianity, but like, if my husband told me I had to do something, I'd tell him to fuck off. If I didn't want to do it, and that would be the end of it.
The only thing, Donna, in all honesty,
what happens when he tells me what to do.
I was just about to say that.
What happens when you tell Mama Atheist what to do?
The only thing that I'm
Don't
allowed,
do it with me, it's a trap.
The only thing that I'm allowed to tell Manda what to do is sleep, because that bitch fucking, and I will call you that, you're an annoying woman because you go and look after so many people. I'm sitting watching her on Hangouts with me sometimes, and she's falling asleep, and all of a sudden somebody in the community reaches out and he's like, can you talk to me for 10 minutes? Boom, she's awake again. Then you get past sleep and she's awake for another 2 hours. Then her mum wakes up in the middle of the night and needs a hand to go to the toilet. She goes and does that, she's woke up again. I wake up 6 hours later and I said, did you get any sleep? About 15 minutes. The only thing I'm allowed to do and get away with and shout at Manda is to sleep. That's it. Even the eating doesn't work. I tell her to eat and she lifts up a packet of crackers. She's like, I am eating. I've got crackers. It's not fucking eating.
See, but she's not abusing you. That's consensual. You have conceded to her that she is in charge. That's a whole different ball of wax. It's on you now, buddy. You're the one that made that shit, laying it.
Critical Questions is dead, and the new series will be coming back up now in a week or so. Series 1 is gone, but Series 2 will be coming back soon. But you watch back, at least 70% of the content that I'm on, ask Manda. Make Manda answer first. It's the right way to be. Generally, women, as we have referred back to, and as Dave has made this point, society to a certain degree had its problems in the past. It definitely did. And we could make reference points to how kids were better and everything's better in the good old days and things like that. But we can objectively look at things like that. And I'm happy to admit that when there's a woman in charge of the house and when there's a woman in charge of the family, making things run, like, I eat better, I do my paperwork better, I keep track of my things because I have Manda there. And it's, as my mother always said, women don't nag, it's just men don't fucking listen.
No.
That's good shit right there. Everybody, all you guys hear that?
I refer back to the statistic. I refer back to the statistic where in the late 20s, early 30s, men get better with meeting a woman. Women's stress levels go through the roof. They look after us. We would be lost.
That's why I date women.
Yeah, we love too hard. We worry too much. But again, I don't want to perpetuate stereotypes. The men can be nurturers. I know a lot of guys who, stayed home with their kids and the woman went to work just because daycare is just fucking astronomical. Yeah. And it was cheaper for him to stay at home than for both of them to work and, pay for daycare.
Yeah, that's definitely
the woman made more money, so why would she stop working?
I know a guy that did that for a year. He gave up his job to look after the kids.
And, be okay with it. And if somebody else is doing something that's unconventional, if you don't understand it, just ask them why. Seek to understand. If it doesn't affect you, fuck off.
No, I definitely I agree with you on just purely on that cost. I know a fella, and whenever his wife fell pregnant with their child, after work they decided they both have jobs. She made more, so he decided to stay at home. That was fine. It was grand. It's better for the household for him to look home and stay because childcare was so astronomical. He lasted a year, and he went back to work at a car wash for after paying for childcare was £20 a week. And it was just, I was like, I need to get out of the fucking house. The kids are driving me crazy. But it just goes to show the astronomical cost of childcare. That after that man worked for a full week, he had £20 left in his fucking pocket for a carry out at the weekend because all his wages went towards childcare. It's
and I'm not berating you at all. I love the girl power, and you would be nothing without us. We believe that.
I know it. I know it from a fact. As I say, growing up with my mother as an example, being in a single parent, before my mother left today, Dave and Manda will tell you, she walked out the door, then she realised, and she opened the living room door again, came back in and goes, by the way, you're a fucking asshole. Walk out the door. Like that's my mother, keeps you in line, strong, powerful women. That's why I'm with Manda. I couldn't have
She
someone
also went to your house and did laundry for you yesterday while you were helping her partner work for 11 hours. So that,
I got a 20-minute break and we did 400 mile. He was lovely. Yeah, I love my dad. Well, I haven't seen any orange markers in the chat, so either I've been useless or nobody's asking questions. I think we've covered an awful lot of topics tonight. It has been fantastic. Major shout out to both Trish and Andrew, who have not so much broke their cherry tonight, but I know it's difficult when people are just starting out on screen. I'm here a year. I'm still a fucking floaty head, so I definitely I understand how difficult it is, and I appreciate you coming on. I think tonight has been a fantastic conversation. It really has. We've covered an awful lot of back and forths. We've had a better demographic here on that I think that we've had in a while, and girl power, women are better. And we'll work our way around the room. Maya, you're first in the top corner. You're in the number 1 slot. What's next? What's happening?
Oh my God, no! I'm Maya. I talk a lot, and I usually in the side chat. I drink wine. I talk shit. You find me over there. I love it.
So you're a mouthy bitch. Check out Maya. Yeah.
I'm a mouthy bitch. Check out Maya.
Manda, you're in the number 2 slot.
Wait a minute, you forgot a part of that. You forgot a part. She's an intelligent, mouthy woman, and that's why I love her. Because anytime she says stuff in the chat, it's legit or it's sarcasm. I love it.
Well, speaking about another very highly intelligent, mouthy woman, Manda, you're in the number 2 slot. What have you got coming up? What's happening? There's a wee intro, yeah. But what have you got coming up?
First of all, thank you so much, Donna. I'm so glad you finally got to come. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, but I'm trying to nudge Donna on for a little while now. So. On Sunday, I have my normal show at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
You have a normal show, just a normal show.
Talk about
with loads of famous people.
Yeah.
No guests. She just talks by herself.
Yeah, she's just gonna go up there and be like, "Yeah, hi."
It says Dark Matter, Aaron Rod, Godless Engineer, Holy Kool-Aid, Robert Reed, and Aaron Lewis.
The fuck did you get holy Kool-Aid?
Oh my god!
Why are you just now mentioning that? That's insane.
1 a.m. Why are you doing it at 1 a.m.?
I know. I'm still
1 a.m. I'm a little.
For me, for her, it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday.
Oh, I'm in the UK.
Yeah,
Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. And
yes, there's a trailer that I just popped up on the screen because I was trying to add it and fuck it all up. Yes, everybody ignore the next 5 seconds on screen. I know it's not fitting. Yes.
Matt at 1 a.m. and he's producing it for me, so.
Well, MathPig can get a nap. He's got to help you.
Yeah, I got 4 hours. I did a 12-hour shift yesterday and got 4 hours sleep in 24 hours. So that worked out quite well. But yes, So Amanda's got that on Sunday. Andrew, Epsilon is greater than. Nice new man to the community. Just give everyone a wee reminder of who you are, your background, and what you've got coming up.
Oh, I'm a former high school science teacher, and I've just started a channel on YouTube where I'm doing science and trying to make it fun and have fun with it while trying to entertain people while teaching them a little bit about science.
Nice.
Aww. Are you ready for like the creationist and flat Earth trolls?
Well, I mean, I did do videos on flat Earth and young Earth creationism, but I don't want to make that the theme of my channel because
I mean,
there's a lot of people out there that you just can't argue with.
I have to say, I'm watching.
You don't have to, right? Like everything disproves the flood.
No, I have to say now, looking at Epsilon as Greater's video list, it's his very early videos is, right, this is the crack, Earth's fucking round, deal with it. Right, this is the crack, Earth's 14 billion years old, deal with it. Right, I've done 2 videos in the first week of my life, I'm now moving on, this is what actual science is. It's just, I'm not even going to deal with it, it's just, you're not worth my time. Well, Trish, has Ethan anything happening coming up? Do you know anything?
Not that I know of, but can I promote my stuff?
Oh, if you have a channel, definitely.
I don't actually have a channel. I don't have a channel. I don't. That's not my thing.
Oh,
but
promote,
photography.
promote.
I'm a beginner photographer, and I started a creative project called Humans of Jesus, which is similar to Humans of New York. Basically, it's a portrait of a person and talks about their story. And I'm on Instagram, Humans of Jesus, and then I'm in the process of creating a website. Ethan actually, for our 1-year wedding anniversary, he bought someone to create a website for me. So,
oh my gosh, that is awesome! Congrats!
Excellent.
Well, that's good. You know, he knows it's something that you will use. It's a personal present. He didn't just buy you a fucking, slow cooker.
And a vacuum cleaner.
And a vacuum cleaner.
Right.
And a vacuum cleaner. Brian,
B,
are you
where
there?
are you from?
I am here. Yeah, my channel is BRAINBUG, and I do mostly bug-related stuff and biology-related stuff. Love science and being a science communicator, and I am still trying to get Amanda to come eat bugs with me. So let's make that happen sooner or later. Other than that, I have a couple interviews coming up. I haven't pinned down any dates on it yet, but hopefully it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I was talking to my father the other day about your personal Patreon video, man. We're working on something with the bees at the minute. So, yeah, appreciate you as a Patreon, man. And I appreciate all the Patrons and everybody that contributes to the channel. Speaking of people who have contributed to the channel, I'll skip the list ever so slightly and do a big shout out for Sal. You know, it's the pigsty in space that you see, and a good 70-80% of the artwork that's on the channel is all down to Sal, who's been supporting me for the start. So support really does help the channel. Links are in the description if there's anything you can do. We've got t-shirts if you want that, and fucking all the rest of it. I hate plugging myself, but it's all there, and it really does help. You know, we've upgraded the space in the computer recently from 250 gig to 3 terabyte, and that's all down to the money that the Patreons have put in. So, Sal, if you want to tell everybody how fantastic and wonderful you are.
Well, I am the best artist. No. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I do art. I've been in a slump. I'm finally out of it. I'm working again. So, art keeps me busy. If anybody needs help with anything, reach out to me. My links are in the description. And
no, they're not.
I like coming in here and talking shit with you guys.
There might
Hopefully
be.
I get a
Remind me tomorrow and I'll put them in the description.
Okay, the live chat. I don't talk YouTube, sorry.
That's alright, I'm only winding up, but it's a fallback on me. It's a fallback on me. B, what have you got coming up on your channel?
Well, as you guys, most of you probably know, I've had internet issues for over a month now, so that should be rectified in the next few weeks. I do want to say that I would love to get you ladies on, and maybe I think we should start doing like a weekly discussion of this. And no offense, MathPig, because I love you to death, but I think we need to do it on Woman's channel, and we could jump around and like go to Amanda's channel, and then however you guys want to do that.
I'm down to do that.
Yeah, I would love that. I'm sorry,
so
Amanda,
you guys
are
are
we waking up
interested
for you?
Do you know, B, you said that, right?
No,
you know
we're
that
not,
the
but I'll
fucking,
make her do it anyway.
the fucking hilarious thing is, B, right? You're like, oh yes, let's have a full women stream and all that there, and we'll do it in Amanda's channel, and then you'll get offline. Amanda will be like, Robbie, can you produce? I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be there anyway, man. I'll be fucking there anyway.
No.
B, where are you from?
Yeah, but your mouth is out of the conversation. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, you guys, I'm following most of you on Twitter. If you guys know how to get a hold of each other or whatever, we could start our own DM group if you guys want. Bring whatever female you want in that has an opinion. We could switch people out and maybe just have like the 3 main people every week or something. Whatever, however you guys want to do it. I'm totally game for it. I have unlimited StreamYard time. We could do one every week or twice a week, or I don't care. We'll work it out. All right.
Julie LaVoy,
So that's what I want to do. Any women in the chat that want to join in? I'm sorry.
Julie LaVoy is Wine and Reason in the live chat.
I know, I love her.
Yeah, no, I'm inviting her.
I would invite her anyways. I flirt with Julie all the time. I love her to death. She's brilliant. She's hilarious. She's strong-minded. I love her. Yeah. She is automatically invited to anything I do, and she knows it.
Julie has 90 subs on her Wine and Reason channel. So if anybody's not subbed to Julie out there, why are you not subbed to her? She's awesome.
I'm not subbed to Julie. What are you really doing with your life?
And everybody's talking.
Seriously, get a life.
Everybody's talking. Give Donna a chance. Oh, Brian ran away. I've offended him. Donna is, I don't think you have a channel, Donna, but we are nagging you and getting you more on stream and loving the fact that you're more vocal. Yeah, definitely. I know it means nothing coming from a stupid white fucking male, but going out with Manda, we definitely need more fucking mouthy, opinionated, smart women in the community. And I'm definitely glad to have you part of the pigsty.
Donna was one of my first guests on my channel. So
wow, yeah, yeah. I am me, and
okay,
maybe I will do videos. Who knows? I don't know. Ex-Pentecostal, live some crazy life. But
find her on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
Atheist Donna. She changes her name sometimes, so just keep up.
I have social media regularly. Never get offended.
Oh, B, what's your Twitter account?
We'll do that afterwards. Anyway, we'll do that afterwards. One thing that I do want to do a shout out for is I've got interviews coming up. There's people coming on the channel. We are doing talks with certain people from Atheist Experience and things like that to have them on the channel. But in all honesty, none of that actually compares to what we're going to end tonight's stream with. And that's the work and effort that Manda has put into, and in conjunction with John with Dark Matter, the work and the effort that they've put into to try and get all these amazing activists together under one roof, under one night, one MathPig production. It's to try and get that all together. She really has been working on this for fucking weeks. And if nobody else has anything else to add, I would just like to oink and out and just bow out to this is what Manda has coming up on Sunday. So everybody, if you're not subscribed to Manda, go and fucking do it now, or I will ban you from the chat. And that's just the way it is.
Go sub to Manda.
Oh no.
Fucking Dave kicks me from my own stream. This is what you get when you give cunts fucking abilities, right? I'm telling you, fuck you, Dave.
Awesome.
That was
you, Dave, man.
awesome.
Right. Well, on that note, we will oink, we will out, and we will end with this is what's coming up on Sunday. Everybody watch it. Everybody sub to Amanda. Everybody hit that button. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thank you.